Hey, what's going on, guys? Realm Gaming here. I want to make a quick video on Mythic Plus affixes for Season 3 and some of the affixes that I typically struggle with the most as a healer. This guide is going to be completely opinionated. Everybody has a different opinion on tier lists, right? But these are just my personal affixes that I struggle with. So we'll start with some of the easier ones that I find to be S tier. The very first one I'm going to talk about here is Volcanic. So we'll put that in S tier. This is probably the easiest affix in the game because it's just a simple sidestep, right? You just press A, D, strafe, whatever. You take 2 steps to the left or right, forward, backwards. You completely avoid the affix. It is a little bit annoying, especially in like a clutch situation where you're trying to get that, final chain heal off and you get interrupted for 2 or 3 seconds. But in my opinion, it's an avoidable affix, and it's one of the easier ones to avoid. So up next, we have, let's go with Storming. Well, let's put Storming in S tier. I might be a little biased on this one because I am ranged. This is a little bit more difficult for melee. But again, this is another one that's completely avoidable, right? You just take one slight step to the left or to the right, and the tornadoes won't hit you. So just so everybody's on the same page, Storming is while in combat, enemies periodically summon damaging whirlwinds, and Volcanic is while in combat, enemies periodically cause gouts of flame to erupt beneath the feet of a distant player. So up next we have Entangling. I'm going to put Entangling in the A tier. And just so you can see here, while in combat, you get a vine around your character. And what it's going to do is it's going to put this large green circle around you, and you're going to be at the center of that green circle, and you have to run out of it for the entangling vine to snap. So I put this in A tier because it's not as easy to get out of as these two are. These two are a simple sidestep. This one, you're going to find yourself running, I'm not sure exactly how far, 15, 20 yards. On my shaman, I use Gust of Winds. I just press it, I go forward, and I'm completely out of the entangling affix. So typically one movement ability will get you out of this. So not too bad. Up next, we're going to have Incorporeal. So while in combat, incorporeal beings periodically appear and attempt to weaken players. I'm going to put this in probably the A tier as well. So it's not a bad affix, especially if you have some sort of weak aura that tells you, how to track it, right? Play some sort of noise when incorporeal spawns, and then you can just CC it, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? One of the reasons I put this in A tier is because every class in the game has a way to handle it, versus Afflicted. Afflicted, only certain classes can handle it, so I do find Incorporeal a little bit of an easier affix to handle. So I guess with that being said, that kind of segues me into Afflicted, which I'll put into B tier right below. Again, just because only certain classes can handle it. I believe it's only the healer classes can handle it to dispel it, along with, I think Mage. I think Mage's Curse Dispel can handle it as well. I'm not sure if there's anything else that can help out with Afflicted. It's also pretty easy for like Resto Shamans to handle, because we can just drop like a Poison Cleanse totem, and it can get rid of both. So, really depends on your class, right? So this could go into A or B tier, I guess, depending on your class. But because less classes can handle it, I'm going to put it into B tier. Also going into B tier, I'm kind of torn on this one. This could go B or A tier, is Raging. And this is, you can soothe this, like on a druid. I believe evokers have an AoE rage dispel as well. So I think they're the only class in the game that can do that. I don't put this any lower because they're not getting any sort of increased health pool. It's all it does is it makes them immune to CC, right? So I could see this one going into either A or B tier. And just so we're all on the same page, non-boss enemies enrage at 30% health, and this makes them immune to crowd control effects. And then also on Afflicted, While in combat, afflicted souls appear in CTA to players. So this is what we were just talking about. And you can cleanse those. Put another one into B tier here, I believe. We'll do bolstering. So bolstering is kind of a tough one because it's going to increase both the health and the damage of enemy mobs, right? So this one's really going to hurt us on chain pulling, and I think it really makes tyrannical weeks as hard as well. Because one of the big things tyrannical weeks have going for it is that you can pull more packs. This is really going to limit your pacing on tyrannical. It's also going to hurt you on fort weeks too, right? But especially on tyrannical weeks as well, because that's normally the one thing that you have going for you is the fact that you're able to pull more packs. So you kind of lose that larger advantage on tyrannical weeks with bolstering. So probably we might could put raging into A tier and we might could put bolstering into B tier. I think that's probably more of a fair comparison. And then we're also going to have sanguine. I'm not sure I have sanguine. Yeah, sanguine right here. I'll put that into B tier as well. Sanguine is bad if you don't know how to deal with it. Pugs, we're typically not dealing with it super well. One of the main issues you're going to have is there's always that one mob that gets into a pool, right? So sanguine, let me find it here. When slain, non-boss enemies leave a lingering pool of ichor that heals our allies and damages players. So it puts this pool on the ground. If there's a mob in it, it's going to heal the mob up. 5% health every 1 second. So typically what happens, right, is you get that one mob that gets stuck in the pool. Somebody CCs it or something, and it's at 5% health, and it heals up to full because the shaman cap totem on top of it. And in pugs especially, I feel like a lot of the groups that I'm in don't handle it correctly because that one mob should be pulled into the next group, but instead we just end up focusing that one mob down, and it's like we had to kill that same mob twice. When in reality, we could have just took it into the next group and killed the whole next group with that one additional mob. Would have been basically the same thing. So this one's very dependent on the group you get, and especially the tank that you get. And to be honest, now that I look at this a little bit more, I might pull bolstering down one more into C tier. Just because I feel like you're going to feel bolstering more than either of these. Just kind of passively throughout the entire dungeon, every mob that dies. I'm not sure if I hovered it yet or not, but bolstering is when any non-enemy boss dies, it does a death cry, increases their health, or excuse me, their damage by 20%. So this really sets up your tank for getting one shot as a healer. That's one of the main things that I kind of feel is when a whole bunch of mobs die, your tank gets really spiky, especially if you're playing with something like a Blood DK. They're already spiky by default, right? So you add this on top of it, and you just see health pools just drop. All right, and then let's go into D tier. We'll talk about Spiteful first. I know a lot of people are probably questioning this right now. Honestly, as a healer, I think that this is just a terrible, not fun affix. It's probably, honestly, probably like A to S tier. I put it in D tier because it's just, I don't enjoy it. It's not really the damage that these shades do. It's the fact that you get stuck in combat and you can't drink. And it's really just a nightmare in pugs. It's just kind of awkward, right? Standing there for 10 seconds waiting on this stupid shade to die just to be able to begin drinking, which is going to take another 20 seconds. I wish we could be able to like CC these or something so that it could drop combat for us. And, we've also had a ton of major mana nerfs this season too, right? So I don't know. This is one that I'm just kind of feeling more in my keys. It's probably not really D tier, but I just put it there because I just hate the affix. I think it's like the worst thing ever. I've never enjoyed it since they've introduced it. And just so we're on the same page, Spiteful, it's going to summon these shades that come out. And these shades are going to damage your group and party member. But the main thing is it's going to keep you stuck in combat as a healer, keeping you from drinking. And then finally, of course, Bursting. We're going to put that into D tier. This is going to be the most dangerous affix on my list. You know, just with the typical sort of zug nature that we see in Mythic Plus keys. This affix can really just melt your entire group. I would say that this is by far the hardest affix in this entire list here, coming from a healer standpoint. Now, of course, you can mass dispel this with a priest, so highly recommend running with a priest on this week. But without one, you're going to really feel this affix more than anything on the list here. And just to hover it really quick, Bursting, when slain, non-boss enemies explode, causing all players to suffer damage over 4 seconds. I'm not sure if it's, I think it's percentage based. I can't exactly remember what the number is, but typically if you're going over 3 stacks of Bursting, 3 to 4, you're really feeling it. And between 4 to 6, 4 plus is probably going to be a wipe. So this really just limits your pacing on tyrannical weeks and 4 weeks as well, right? So, all right, guys, that's my first tier list video. Let me know if I can improve on it in any way. This was a fun one for me to make. It's just kind of a little opinionated video. I know a lot of the stuff could change around based on the week, based on other people's opinions, whatever. But this is just where I would rank the affixes for a healer in Season 3 of Dragonflight. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.